Om.
Recording in progress.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So today we begin with the introduction to Kathopanishad, and Kathopanishad is part of the Krishna Yajurved, and in the Taittiriya Brahmana part it comes, and in this the conversation between Yamraj, the Lord of Death, and Nachiket, the young student, the young seeker, the young boy, will tell the story how he reaches the abode of death and then has a conversation with him, and people are and that is the topic of the Kathopanishad. Just as in the Bhagavad Gita, where is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad is a part of the Mahabharata epic. Mahabharata is a historical event which has been put together by our Maharishi Vedvyas. And what was the purpose of it? The purpose of that epic is to spread the knowledge of the truth, the mystical knowledge to one and all, not only to specific people but to all. And for a common man, that knowledge is difficult to get, and and Mahabharata is a historical fact, so it is called the Itihas. And just like it was, Mahabharat was written by Maharishi Vedvyas remembering all the events. Ramayana was written by Valmiki by remembering all the events, right? Valmiki was at the same time, but events had already gone by, and then he just recollected them and he wrote it. So it is a smriti again. Within that smriti, it is itihas. Smriti means remembered. There is some author. So the author of Mahabharata is our Maharishi Vedvyas. The author of Ramayana is Valmiki. Ramayana is sage Valmiki. But when it comes to, or for the Puranas, which are remembered scriptures, stories of various gods, the author is Maharishi Vedvyas. Unlike them, Shruti, which are revealed scriptures, they do not have any author. The Vedas are revealed texts, and there is no author which is attributed to any of the Vedas. And just as we see in Gita Mahatmya, that Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Upanishads. Why Bhagavad? What was the need for Ved Vyas to put the essence of all the Upanishads? I don't know how many we are going to study, but now this is the fourth one. We did Kaivalya Upanishad, Ishavasya, Kena, and now Katha. So, what was the need to bring out, squeeze out the nectar from all the Upanishads and put it in one go uh, in the Mahabharata, where Krishna teaches Arjuna the Bhagavad Gita? Huh? The reason was because that great sage, he could foresee the Kali Yuga coming, and he could foresee the people are not going to be as intelligent as you all are. Uh, so so for the benefit of all those people, he thought it necessary to give the essence of all the Upanishads, because they won't have the staying power, they won't have the intellectual acumen to dive deep into the Upanishads to get the right import. They won't be available to the, because of the times, not their fault. It is the times are such. They will not be available to the teachers. The teachers also will not be available in because teachers are available, but they will not be available to the teachers. Why? Because they are running after, in Kali Yuga you are running after the material world, and in this way, because so Maharishi Vedvyas ji knew that the Kali Yuga is going to dawn, and the truths which could not be understood before, now he felt it necessary to elaborate them in a manner by which these not so focused minds still will be able to grasp the essence of it, and grasp what, when we say how do you say, Om Sahanavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahi. This is the verse which will come afterwards. It's a very simple step, that the student should be, may the divine protect me and my teacher, may we both exert enough energy and acumen to the teacher to teach and the student to learn. May we not fight with each other, etc., etc. We will look at it in detail afterwards. But when the same thing is told in a story form, you don't have to remember the points, you don't have to remember the verses, you don't have to remember anything. The story creates an imprint on your mind and it stays with you. And that the great Rishi found that will be the way for the future time that was going to come, because this was written during the conclusion of the previous yuga, which was Dwapar Yuga, and the beginning of Kali Yuga, which is the period in which we are there. And in this manner, so technically the truth is not to be given to the masses. Truth is only for those few selected who are hungry, who are thirsty for this knowledge. Just like we saw in the previous Upanishad, the student was thirsty. He had already worked out all other options. And this is where we come to the difference between religion, philosophy, and spirituality. Religion is for the masses. What is the religion? Religion is, the negative side of the religion is fear and guilt, by which it controls everyone, meaning the people who call themselves the custodians of religion, they practice guilt and fear in order to keep everyone in check, in order to make the money. But let's look at the positive. And so what is religion? Religion means religiare. Religiare means reunion. Reunion with what? Reunion with your idea of divine. So, well, let that be Om, let that be Krishna, let that be Rama, let that be Shunya, it does not matter. Whatever your idea is. So, reconnect, rejoin. Again, yoga means the same. But Vedanta is a little bit different. Here we are not looking at rejoining. We are already that which we are seeking. We have never become separated from it. And when this becomes your conviction that we are not separated from what we are seeking, and we understand that our extrovertedness, our desires, our body identification, our acceptance of the fact that I was born and I am a breathing person and one day I will die, all these wrong notions are what which are keeping you away from you being yourself, which is the infinite one. So in spirituality, the seeker is absolutely, first thing, he is absolutely convinced about the goal. He is convinced that goal which he needs to get to is already expressing through him, but unknown to him. See? And what is philosophy? Philosophy is when you talk about religion and Vedanta or spirituality and write PhDs, but have never experienced any damn thing in your studies and only speak for a return. That is philosophy, or grants. That is philosophy. No philosopher, majority of the philosopher, I shouldn't say no, because it's a very Western word. We don't have philosophers in our if you can't say rishis are philosophers. Nope, you can't. Rishis are direct drashtas of the Supreme. Philosophers are only cut paste from all various sources, write down, reference this, reference that, reference this, and write a PhD, and by fluke or by hook or by crook, suddenly they become famous. But they are all doing it for name, fame, they are all doing it for money. Very rare few are there who are really. Philosophy also means seeking study of the truth. Philosophy means study of the truth. Geography, study of the earth, the land, etc. Astrology, G, that is G. Philosophy, geography, like that Fifi you can add, man. I can't remember now. So philosophy is also study of the truth. But no, very rare, including our great what you call Descartes or Einstein, they all sang glories of the Upanishad, but they never came to know the truth of the Upanishads. They never came to know it. They said, if we come to know it, oh my God, my knowledge in front of it is only very, very minimal. So we see in today's time there are sages. Today also there are sages. And there are scientists. Scientists are also sages, rishis in one way. But what is the difference between the sages of yore or sages who are committed to the truth and sages in the scientific world? Both are working towards one thing only. What is that? They want to enhance life. They want to bring more opportunities to everyone. They want, and what will happen? People will be happy. But the modern scientist, he only can go up to a certain limit because his area of inquiry is only the world. our rishis have gone beyond that. They have sorted out the world and they have found that they cannot find any answer in this world which is lasting. There is no happiness in this world which is lasting. And if you do a very, very simple inquiry, you will find that yes, it is true. I eat 3 times a day, still I am not satisfied. I drink so many times during the day, still I am not satisfied. I drink 2-3 times coffee in the day, still I am not satisfied. I sleep every night, still I am not satisfied. I work every day, still I am not satisfied. I make so much money, still I am not satisfied. As a single person, I was not satisfied. Married, I was not satisfied. Having kids also, I am not satisfied. And this list goes on. Thinking thoughts, I am not satisfied. Not thinking thoughts, also I am not satisfied. What next? and so they already, where the modern science is going into the matter with good intention, and that to bring more and more happiness to the people. Rishis also did the same, but they went when they saw that there. So what is this world? They worked out. They worked out that the world was changing, and changing can never give you lasting happiness. Then somewhere along their journey, that's why the Upanishads must have come about. Somewhere within it must have clicked. Hey, I'm only looking outside. I'm looking at the world. I'm looking at the body. I'm looking at the mind. I'm looking at breath. I'm looking at the thoughts. I'm looking at my convictions. I'm looking at my emotions. Who is this fellow who's looking? and when that clicked from inside, it's divine grace. When it clicked from inside, suddenly their inquiry, they were already, why did it click? Because they had already exhausted all inquiry with reference to the world, to the changing. Now they were available. What next? Then it clicked. A person who has not exhausted himself during the day, he will never have a good sleep. You have to be tired. You have to exhaust yourself. Then good, you touch the bed and you are gone. See? So say exactly the same way. When you are exhausted, you come to this conviction that I cannot have lasting happiness by pursuing the world, thinking about the world, contemplating on the world, because the nature of the world is changing. So, what next? They didn't have the answer. What next? And they became available, just like Indra became available. Remember the story last Upanishad? He became available. Did he see the truth? No. But he knew there was something, because 2 previous fellows have gone and seen, because they were gross in their thinking. But the Lord of the mind, when the mind goes and searches for the truth, what is its source? And waits there without getting distracted and becoming extroverted again, then the possibility of revelation comes about, or it happens. Then what is this? How to get to it is all these Vedas, and it is given in the Upanishads. And we see that similar to Bhagavad Gita, this Katha Upanishad or Katho Upanishad. Katha, because it's a story. We saw in the previous Upanishad, which was it, Kena Upanishad. In that also, it didn't begin with the story, but in between the story of the gods was given, how they approached the Yaksha. But here the story begins, the Upanishad begins with the story. And many people believe that this Katha Upanishad, because Upanishads came much, 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 much more before the Bhagavad Gita. So people think that all the teachings in the Bhagavad Gita have been physically taken out from this Upanishad and ditto put into the Bhagavad Gita. Just like we saw when we studied the Upanishad, Isha Upanishad, what did we tell you there? The commonality between Isha Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita? Forgotten? Thank you. I can repeat again. Isha Upanishad had 18 verses and Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. You understand? You see? So, in this manner, so just as the Bhagavad Gita was a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, and the context, the place, and that conversation was placed in the context of the historical event of Mahabharata war in the middle of the battlefield, where Arjuna is confused. He is having a identity crisis and he needs guidance. Unlike that, where Bhagavad Gita begins with despondency, with crisis, exactly diametrically opposite. Here we don't see any crisis. Here we see the inspiration of a young boy wanting to do the right thing, wanting his father to do the right thing, and as a result he finds himself what you call going to the doors of death, and eventually the conversation between the Lord of Death and himself. So here this young 6-7 years old boy is inspired to do the right. Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita beginning, he is not inspired, he's lost the plot. Here in this Kathopanishad, the student, this young boy, he has not lost the plot, his father has lost the plot, and the student, the child, is trying at that young age, we will see all the story later, but he wants the father to do the right thing. And whatever happens. So this Katha Upanishad, it touches the qualities of a seeker. Mainly, what is the main topic of all Upanishads? What is the main topic? Brahma Vidya, knowledge of the truth, knowledge of the infinite. But having said that, what are the qualities that a student needs, a seeker needs in order to get there? We saw all those qualities in Vivek Chudamani thoroughly, but here it will be shown again in a story form, and through this young boy we will learn that what are the salient points, what are the various qualities, attributes that we need to inculcate within our in our thinking, in our personality, which make us available to the truth. See? So and for this purpose, for giving this truth, bringing this truth across to all of us, it takes this story. A child doesn't know what consciousness is, a child doesn't know what the truth and Brahman is. Yeah? You didn't know that you are going to come to Australia. You did not come to know that you were going to be married to this person. You did not know you will be a doctor when you were born. So this boy is a 6-year-old. Huh? You did not know at 6 years age what your future holds for you. Just like Dhruv did not know that he was going to be the pole star, permanent position. So we don't know. Is our success only limited to the material gain? Indian Supreme Court just now passed a judgment. They made a statement. I don't know, it's a judgment or a statement. They say richness, wealthy human beings will not be determined only by the money they possess. There is something new. What else is there? I don't know what they have said, but this part I read and I left it caught my eye. So naturally, our life is not. If you see the life of Vishwamitra, he was a king. He expanded his powers because he took animosity with a rishi, Vashishta, and he got the divine weapons. Still, he could not defeat. Then he chanted mantras. Still, he could not defeat. But until and unless he was not presented from within the eye of oneness towards all, till then he did not become equal to sage Vashishta. He also started like that. So many great masters in last 100 years, so many biographies you can read. They were all born like you and me, but they didn't run after the money. They ran after, they were caught by this wonderful goal called the self, the Atman, the Brahman, the all-consuming reality, the all-pervading reality. See? So the rishis, so the Vedas talk about, this Upanishad also will talk about mysticism. It will also talk about Brahma Vidya. It will also talk about the qualities of a seeker or a student, how to approach, what mental, what notions to cultivate, which desires to let go and which desires to follow, etc., etc. So many things will be there. So in this manner, this Kathopanishad is very simple to understand and very straightforward. Without beating about the bush, it conveys the truth, or whatever the learning has to be conveyed. And as I said, that many mantras from this Upanishad have come into the Bhagavad Gita, and just like in modern society, we are always, in the school they have, what do you call these? Every student has a senior student, what do you call that? Mentor. They have a mentor. So usually, if the mentor is good, mentor is inspired, then the student who is under his wings, or they will also be inspired. They will also learn to speak like him. They will also joke like him. They will also talk like him. They will also walk like him. They will, good or bad, they will imbibe everything, isn't it? Exactly the same way. Here, when we identify with this wonderful student of truth like Nachiket, all those qualities, even while listening to the Upanishad, those qualities will be imbibed by the student within us. And he is a, just like when we say uh, uh, we that instead of praying the idol, focus on the ideals of Krishna. Instead of focusing on the idol of Ram, imbibe the ideals of Sri Ram, isn't it? Same way here, he is a perfect example of wonderful ideals for us to imbibe in our life. When he is one day one day his father, he comes back from a big campaign, and when he comes back, the child is born, and the father's name is Vajashrava Gautama. He is the son of Vajashravas. So grandfather of Nachiket is Vajashravas, and his father is Vajashrava Gautama. And when he comes and he has taken a vow that I am going to do some sacrifice, and he is giving the and in that sacrifice what you have to do, this is how our land is. It's a land of givers, not takers. It has been, if you see many kings throughout our history and Puranic lore, you will see all the ideals that have been presented are, they achieve all the qualities of greatness, they come to reach the greatness, and then they give up all the greatness, they give up all the wealth, they give up all the goodies of life. Because our life tells you what? Brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha and sannyas. So all the kids, like today they are being sent to madrasas for becoming terrorists. In old times they were sent to, in Sanatan Dharma they were sent to Gurukul. And what was the goal? Not to kill, but to come to know that you are divine in essence. So that goal was always in the forefront. That is the purpose. That was the purpose. And that is the purpose of being born human. This is the doorway to that reality. And what is that reality? What will happen when I come to know that reality? Your cyclical birth and death, it will finish. So that goal was presented, and this king, this father of this young boy, he comes and he decides that I'm going to do this sacrifice, and he does the sacrifice, and in that sacrifice everything that he owns has to be given up, because next stage is sannyas or vanaprastha and then sannyas. So what is the point? Then what will the son do? Son will make his own future. But like every father, he is attached to his son, so he keeps all the good cows for his son, and old cows he is giving away which cannot give milk, which the people, whoever he has given to, they have to spend more money for the upkeep of those old and dilapidated cows, and get nothing in return. So he looks at this error which his father is making out of attachment to his son. But this young boy thinks, he says that that he is leaving all the good cows for me, and he is in, and his devotion towards his father. What should devotion towards the father lead to? Does it lead to attachment? No. The devotion of Nachiket towards his father leads to this thinking that my father is doing wrong. I must remind him that he has to do the correct thing. But he cannot. He is a young boy. Father is grown up. How can he tell father, Father, you are doing wrong? So he goes and says, Oh father, uh, whom will you give me to? Because I am also something you possess. Just like you are all your possessions you are giving away. Whom will you give me to? He says it once, he says it twice, he says it thrice. The father gets very irritated by this continuous nagging of the child, and in that spurt of anger, he says, Go, I give you to death. And instead of, How can my daddy say that to me? It's so unfair. Today is not like that. He said, Dad has said, then he must be knowing something more than I know, because he's grown up. So he must be knowing that there must be a way for me to go to death. We'll talk about all this in detail later. I'm just giving you an overview. And therefore, because so when he says that I because of his love, because of his attachment to the child, he was not giving away the young milking cows as dakshina, as donation. This event happened, and then out of irritation he says, Go, I give it to the Lord of Death. Then he didn't take it in the wrong sense. He did not argue with his father. He did not speak back to his father. How dare you say that to me? Don't you know that I am your son? Like today's kids do. The father has to hide in one room when the children grow up. Kalyug, no? But not here. Here, okay, the child is 6-7 years old, and he says, he did not deny the diktat of his father. If he says the father has said, Go, I give you to death, I accept it. And similarly, we see in different times where Dasharath ji did not see the time and place, and he told Ramchandra ji to go for 14 years to the forest. Did Ramchandra ji have anger towards his father? No. Did he argue with him? No. He accepted. It's not a question of right and wrong. The body is produced by parents, and the body must serve the parents. And in that moment, Ramchandra ji, instead of thinking about his life and about his being crowned as the next king, his attention was on keeping the word of his father. You see, Nachiket has also done the same. Another incident comes where we see all the Arjuna has won Draupadi, and after winning Draupadi, all the 5 brothers come back and they told mother, see what present we have got for you, and she said that share it among you all. So she had to marry all the 5 brothers and have children from all the 5 brothers. She did not, in movies and stories, they talk about Draupadi arguing and all that, but nothing like that. She accepted. For great results, great tapas is required. Our tapas is what? For Navratri we will not eat food 9 days, only milk and fruit. And then we expect to merge into the Devi. It is not going to happen. We decide that for whole year I am not going to eat banana. What are you going to eat? What siddhi you are going to get? No. These small, small tapa, that I am going to give 10% of my income to the temples or churches or whatever. What is going to happen by that? Nothing is going to happen. You are not going to get anything. All that has happened is you have been taken for a ride. If you are looking at expanding your consciousness, I'm not talking expanding your wealth, I'm talking expanding your consciousness, then something great needs to happen. A great tapas needs to take place, great austerity. So Ramchandraji took the austerity of going for 14 years into the forest just to keep his father's word. Draupadi, to keep the word of her mother-in-law, was ready to marry with the five sons of her mother-in-law. It's a tapas, and yet maintain harmony with all of them. She loved Arjuna more than anyone else, but never showed it. It's a great tapas. See? So similarly, exactly the same way, what happened in front of Nachiket, he also kept the word of his father as the final word. He did not argue, he did not complain, he did not go into depression, he did not have identity crisis, he did not become confused. He said, if my father has said it, he must know that I know how to get to Lord Death. What did Raman Maharishi do when he saw the dead body going by on the street? He played dead by himself, isn't it? See? So for modern man, if you tell them these stories of Draupadi, of Ramchandraji, of Nachiket, they will say, hey, this is all concocted stories, it is not a reality, it cannot happen. The child is a very simple child. How can every child is simple and straightforward that way, and he must have just taken it to be that way? No, but it is not like that. It requires a different, a sharper intellect to delve into these qualities, this disposition for this tapas. And today's kid, today's man, today's seeker, he will not take Mahavrat. Mahavrat is this intense tap. Draupadi's tap was from the moment she got married till all her sons were dead. It was entire 20-25 years. Ramchandraji 14 years. When you do japa or when you do any sadhana, they say 12 years is one tapas. Do we have the consistency, the acumen, the steadiness to remain with whatever sadhana we are doing for 12 years? Yes, sometimes we'll go here and there, but keep coming back to the same. Just like for 25-30 years, in spite of the fights, arguments, misunderstandings, it is a tapas. Husband and wife are together, isn't it? It is a tapas. Even more so. Now find out in yourself, as I keep repeating it many times, all the qualities for realizing the truth are already within every one of us, and we are employing them in different fields. The field needs to change, it needs to become self enquiry, it needs to be towards the infinite. Apply all that towards that. So, in this manner, uh, yeah, so after he reached Yamlok, uh, uh, when he reached there, the gatekeeper said, the Yamraj, the god of death, he is not there. So he has gone out. So he waited there. 3 days he waited there. Without drink, without food. And father has said, go to god of death. So he has already been offered. So how can he eat if they are not offering any food and drink? And when we see this commitment in this young boy waiting at the doorway of death, waiting at the doorway of death, not being allowed into the realm of death. Understand? He is at the doorway of death. Nobody is opening the door for him. Without food, without water. It shows his commitment. It shows his mental disposition. It shows his unflinching devotion on the word towards the words of his father. See? So he thought that my body has already been given by my father to Yamraj, the Lord of Death. Then now only the Lord of Death has power over this body. So how can I wish for water and drink food? I cannot. It is not my body anymore. What do you see in this dialogue? He is already disconnected from the body. So he had only one duty in front of him, and that was the moment the Lord of Death comes, tell him, this is the body that my father has sent you. Take it. Nothing to do with. And so that was his disposition. If death comes now, next moment, to me, to this body while I am speaking, am I available? Okay, Lord Death, you have come. Here, take this body. I was only talking about you, O Lord Death. And you came. So instead of having the desire for food and drink, he remained without any desire at the doorway of the death to give the body to the Lord. And after 3 days, when Yamraj came, he called him inside. He said, come, what are you doing here? And look, and when the gatekeepers told him that 3 days this fellow has been staying out waiting for you, immediately he felt so affectionate towards him. Without thinking twice, he gave him 3 boons for each day. He gave 3 boons for each day. And now for the fasting that he has done without food and without drink for 3 days, for each day he gave 1 boon. And with that we also see that in Sanatana Dharma, even the Lord of Death, did he invite Nachiket? No. Guest has come uninvited. So how do you do Atithi Satkar? How do you take care of a guest? So here he takes care of the guest by giving him 3 boons, because his time was not there ready to come to death. So he gives him, because he is a guest there. So again it is shown that to disregard a guest who has come, it sucks away your spiritual strength. Our culture, our Upanishads say, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo, Guru Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. So first consider your mother. In the childhood, a mother is considered as divine, God. Then as you reach 6-7 years old, when you are ready for the thread ceremony, Gayatri Mantra is given. From that moment on, or just father is the Guru Maharaj. Then about 8-9 years old, you are sent to the Gurukul, because from parents no child can ever learn. He can only be spoiled, because they will not stop getting attached and infatuated by their children. So boarding school. Which one? Gurukul. So in Gurukul, what does he learn? Guru Devo Bhava. So first it was mother is God, then father is God, now Guru is God. And what the Guru is teaching? Guru is teaching that every person, in every life in this creation, is an expression of that divine alone. And that everyone, meaning anyone who comes in your contact. So it can be an ant, it can be a bird, it can be a dog, it can be a cat, it can be a guest, it can be a criminal, it can be a great saint. Everyone a guest must be respected, and that respect will only come when our attention is on the spirit within that person. See, Atithi Devo Bhava. So he did not disregard Nachiket, hey, get away from here, go back from where you came. Didn't say like that. And when he was given 3 boons, Nachiket asked 3 boons from the Yamaraj. In the first boon, everyone naturally has come to death. What will be his first concern? What is your first concern? I know some of your concerns. What is it? My child, my wife, my husband. Immediate family is the first concern. So now Nachiket understands that father said, go, I give you to death. How much in pain he must be because of his love for the son for whom he was keeping all the good cows. And keeping the father in a miserable condition, feeling guilty down there on earth, how can he be happy? So the first boon that he asks is that when I go back, may my father have the same love towards me like before. See how smartly he puts it. We'll see it in detail when we get into the Upanishad. That my parents, my father's mind must be at peace. He should not feel that he has committed a great sin, that he has committed wrong, that he will be punished by gods. He will be punished because he has told, go, I give you to death. Now Yamaraj will go and take revenge or give him the fruit of his action. So first he ensures that his father is taken care of. See, one person I know, when they stand in front of the Lord, you can hear the tip 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 going on, and if you stand a little bit closer, you can hear. They are wherever, at home or in temple or wherever, they have an entire list of all the people that they know and they are saying, may good come upon them, may faith in you be strengthened in them, may their life be long, may they be happy. For everyone they are saying. For their brothers, for their sisters, for their mothers, for their fathers, for their husband, for their wife, for their friends, for everyone. That person includes everyone. Wonderful, isn't it? Nachiket also, in the first boon, he makes sure that his father is at peace. And very smartly he says, when I go back, may my father recognize me as I am, not like a ghost. After death, what goes? Ghost only goes. Not as ghost, in the body. Because body is there only, no? He has gone in subtle body to the abode of death. Then, because no father wants their child to go to death, and yet Nachiket has come, so the father must be feeling bad about it. So he came away to death against the wishes of the father. That father said, go, I give you to death, was out of frustration, not out of his wish that I go, I give you to death. So this young boy recognizes. So, may peace be in the mind of my father. That was the first one. Then, and here naturally, if you look at it, the rule is, when we see, what is the first rule? Yama. In Yoga Sutra, Ashtanga Yoga, Yama. What is Yama? I keep saying, live in such a manner that by your thought, your word, and your deed, nobody gets disturbed. And you don't get disturbed by anyone's thought, word, and deed. Nachiket did not get disturbed by the words of his father. But he has committed an act of going to death. That should not become, it should not be perceived wrongly by his father. He must be crying there, he must be complaining, he must be, oh wow, because of me, my son has, why did I say, go, I give you to death? Whatever the drama was going on there, that is not given in the Upanishad here. So how can we be happy when our nears and dears are not happy? This is at a very gross level. Okay? So if our nears and dears are not happy or at peace, how can we be happy and at peace? And this is common for all the people. It does not matter whether you are single, whether you are in family, whether you are a bachelor, whether you are a young or you are middle age or you are old or you are a child. It is a teenage. It is the same rule for every human being. It across the board. No exceptions for anyone here. So therefore, he asks for the first boon for his father. Then once your basic, once your nears and dears, here in this case the father is satisfied, then next, what is the next frontier that you want, that people want? Where does success come? Success comes where people are living in harmony. Success comes where companies and the employees and the whoever is this person, in company where the bosses and the employees are in harmony, then that company will succeed. So you parents are there, you have had good parentage, they have taken care of you, they have fed you, they have given you good education, environment at home is very good. Now naturally, next is what is next? I can't continue living at my father's or mother's grace. Now I am a youth, now I need to do something, I need to explore, I need to fly. Where do we go after that? Normally, wealth. Remember, what is that? The four Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, isn't it? So next one is Artha and Kama. Naturally, it comes. So at the physical level, at the relationship level, if everyone is quiet, next frontier is what? After Yama, what is next? Niyama. Niyama is not to be imposed on other people. Rules and regulations are not to be imposed on other people. Then where do you impose rules and regulations? On yourself. Niyam. Then what do you do with other people? Don't disturb them by thought, word, or deed. How do you not disturb them? Love them, for as accept them as they are. Accept them as they are. In every person, in every being, in every living man or animal or a mosquito, there is life. There is life. So once, then we want laukik, worldly peace we want. And for that first was worldly peace, which is the gross peace, which is at the family level in this case. And next one is beyond this physical world. What is beyond this physical world? The subtle world. Where is the subtle world? Here. Or and the outside it is the swarga, or it is the various lokas. See? So people, for that, laukik is worldly, parlaukik, beyond the physical is parlaukik. So we want peace in this world and the world thereafter. This is how they say it, no? in the when someone dies, may his soul rest in peace. He can't rest in peace on the earth. He has, wherever it has gone, rest in peace. Where has it gone? Do you know? If it has gone to heaven or hell? Wherever. So, where is that? It is subtle. It is not gross. You can't see it. You can't experience it. And for that, our Upanishads, they have these various, the Brahmana part where all the various rituals are there. When you do the rituals, why do we do the rituals? Because we want heaven. Why did his father give up all the wealth that he had amassed as a king and gave it away? It was not a weak man's feat, but he gave it away. Why do you do Ati Rudra and Shatarudra or whatever? Such three days the Rudra is going on. Why? Because you love fire? No. Because you waste all the ahuti into the Bhavan Kund? No. You want to appease the gods. Why? So that they allow you to enter and invite you to the heavens when in the afterlife. You understand? That is parlaukika. And uh, and a person who is focused on something greater, he doesn't worry about the physical. You understand? These what do you call, these terrorists, they are ready to give up their life because there are 70 virgins waiting for them in the heaven. Virgins in the heaven, par laukik. But that, when their attention is on that, they don't care about the gross, they don't care about the physical. You see, a person who's giving ready, I'm giving you such stark examples so that it hits the point. When two people are in love, they forget sleep, they forget food, they forget hunger, they forget everything, because they are in tune with something much deeper, much subtler, where gross has got no entry. Only in imagination. If I was in my beloved's arms, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई. See, the one who wrote Heer Ranjha, it's a great poem, Heer Ranjha. His guru, Bulle Shah, he was a great Sufi. And when Aurangzeb's army came, and Aurangzeb was against music, like these fellows in Afghanistan, he was absolutely against music. So one sect in Islam is completely against music. They don't tolerate Sufis, because Sufis are musicians. So Bulle Shah was a musician. He used to great music, and he taught. And the moment he told, he says, I want to become a musician like you. I want to become compose like you. I want to be in the awe of that divine love like you are. How will I? So that Bulle Shah told that young fellow. He says, have you fallen in love? No, not fallen. Have you been in love? He says, no. He says, has anyone ever broken your heart? He says, no. Then you cannot write any poetry, man. So, fall in love, be in love, and let the love be broken. But live righteously. Then poetry will automatically come out of you. And the moment he gave this message to his disciple, very moment the soldiers came and they caught Bulle Shah, they took him, and he kept saying Allah Malik, like our Shirdi Sai Baba, and he was killed. Why? Each part of his body was, because he wanted to say, no, Aurangzeb is the king. He said, no, Allah Malik. So, cutting off the body was having no meaning for Bulle Shah when his love for the divine was so intense. Guru Gobind Singh's two young sons, who were fighting for freedom of their land, that is India, from the invaders. Again, the invaders, while they were alive, they built wall around it and killed them. But they did not convert to Islam. See? Why? We are first. They were Sikhs. We are Sikh first. And we are here to protect the great land of Bharat. I'm giving why I'm giving you these, because this is our history. So I'm coming up with these examples. But whenever our attention is on the higher, the lower drops away. Again, another simple example which you will understand. When we are climbing the steps, once we have climbed the next step up, the bottom one automatically our foot gets released from the first step. As we go up, the lower ones keep dropping away, isn't it? When we go to sleep, the waking gets dropped away, the dream gets dropped away. So next is the Paralaukik. The second boon is the Paralaukik. I'm going too much into detail. I should not. Then what will I say when the verses come? So, for getting the Paralaukik Sukh, for getting the joy at the subtle level, at the finer level, the Nachiket asked for the secret of the invocation of fire. Because only through fire you invoke gods, and gods bless you with all the wealth and all the siddhis and all the powers and all the worlds and whatever you want. So he asked for the science of invoking the fire, which is the Agnihotra, or the Havan that we do, that is given in the Vedas. So just the way first we had the peace and tranquility for the father, now Nachiket, by the second boon, he has for the humanity, he has given by asking such a boon and getting the response from the Lord of Death. That response is not only for Nachiket, that is for the entire humanity. That if any person who is chanting those mantras in the manner it is given, then the blessings will shower upon you. Om Bhadram Karnebi Shunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha, and so on it goes. May auspiciousness be there upon us. May I see auspicious through the eyes, may I hear auspicious through the ears, may I speak auspicious through the tongue, and so on it goes on. Bhadram. So any human being, not necessarily Indian, Sanatana Dharma is not only for Hinduism. Sanatana Dharma is for every living entity that is there in the past, present, future in this entire universe or universes. It is not only for Hindus. Because we never call ourselves Hindus in the first place. We are Sanatana. We follow the eternal way of life. It is the only, the Upanishads, the eternal Sanatana Dharma, the way of righteousness, the knowledge of righteousness. And what is the most righteous? The supreme truth. It is the only culture which has incorporated the supreme truth, right from causal, subtle to the gross, to everyday activity. It has that truth is percolated in and through, and that is the truth. It is the material with which the whole creation is made. But it is this culture, the Sanatana Dharma, which has it has brought it into every small activity of your daily life. That is the greatness of Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism is, all foreigners have called us Hindus because we are living across the Indus River, so we are Hindu. The religion we follow is Hindu religion. We don't follow any religion. Religion is a very Western concept. In India there was no religion. There was only everyone used to follow righteousness. That's all. So therefore, but Nachiket himself was not desirous of the joys of the heaven. We will see that when the verses come. Then why did he ask for it? For the signs of the fire, for the benefit of the humanity. Young boy, like I'm taking this text, Bara Khadi, Sant Maluk Das Ji Maharaj. He was 7 years old. First time he went to school, the teacher gave him a black slate and a chalk. He said, okay, start writing Bara Khadi means, like in English you say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Same way in Sanskrit there are vowels and consonants. And he started writing, and with every alphabet, K, K, G, Gh, Ch, Ch, J, J, T, T, D, D, T, T, D, D, P, P, B, B, Y, R, L, V, Sh, Sh, S, H. He wrote beautiful verses in the remembrance of Lord Ram. 7-year-old boy. First time he is holding the pen. I'm taking it in Hindi every now and then at the temple. So we see from the disposition of Nachiket that he was, and when, see what Yamraj ji does when he asks that what is the signs of the fire, he was so excited by he gives it to him, and then he gives him so many things. He gives him like these fellows get 70 virgins there, he also gave him. He gave him apsaras. He said every girl will come with chariots and servants and palaces and money and gold, and I'll make you the emperor of the whole universe, and this and that. He is not interested. He's not interested. First, he got peace for his father, then he got next frontier, not selfish, next frontier, peace for humanity. Because people are desirous, how can they get their desires fulfilled? Through fire. It shows the what do you call, the urge. He's not doing anything. First it was for his father, now it is for the humanity, nothing for himself. It shows he's not selfish. And then third, he asks the teacher, when the teacher tries to lure him, that what will you do this, what will you do that, so many distractions he gives. The teacher, the Lord of Death, is so impressed by this young boy, he says from now on this fire will be after your name only. So it is called Nachiket Agni. Still the student is not flattered. Instead, in the third boon, he asks, I want to know that by knowing which everything is known, or there is nothing else remaining to be known. And the teacher says, I don't know. He says, how can you not know? You know. And that is when he asks this question, the third boon, the teacher tries to lure him by different things. So all the goodies of all the world, he doesn't want anything. Imagine you go to a small child and you tell, hey, I'll get you that tank engine, or I'll get you this, or I'll get you that Rubik's Cube or whatever, or that watch, that pen. Children are excited. 7-year-old boy, not excited by anything. Why he's not excited? Because he's coming from he's purebred. Today we want purebred dogs, purebred cows, purebred cats, but human beings we don't want purebred. They can be mixed, it doesn't matter. They can be mixed. What is that? Like in America, they are not supposed to ask the name of the father. Only mother's name is necessary. Why? Nobody knows. So in this way, so the going, just like Ram's Vanvas was not only for Ram, but it was for the whole humanity that time. Parshuramji, when he killed his mother by the diktat of his father, without doubting the words of his father, it was not for his that I can do it. No, it was not. Why did he do it? Because he completely had faith that my father can revive her back. And the father was so happy. He said, what do you want? He says, please bring her back to life. And he brings her back to life. Same way, the great King Puru, he gave up his youth for the total. Is our life being lived for the total, or is our life being lived for only me and me and me and me? In Kali Yuga, only me and me. Ma. Goat. We have to expand, not physically. Expand our consciousness, and consciousness can be expanded, or it will expand. It is infinite, but as long as we are thinking, we need to expand. How? By more inclusivity. Not only me and my wife, not only me, my wife and my children, not me, my wife, my children and my in-laws and outlaws, my friends, my enemies, these are also inclusive. No, open it up. Inclusive of the entire universe. And stay there. Don't again squeeze back into this body. Let function through this body, but let the mind remain at the feet of the infinite. So in this way, so when he asked this question that please tell me that by knowing which nothing remains to be known, then many people come to us also, many people come to you also. Many times you must have asked many questions to your teacher when you were in school also or university. Every question was not answered. How eager are you to know the answer? How prepared are you to know the answer? How focused are you to know the answer? What price are you ready to pay? One child, one young boy, he's from childhood, very young, 6 years old. Since then I know him. He used to come to Sanskrit classes many years ago. Now he's finished his third year university in biomed. Wants to be a doctor. but somehow not getting the uh, right marks. Once he got the right marks, the interview didn't go well or whatever. But he wants to do medicine. So he got in Belfast, Ireland. Day before yesterday he went, flew. So he came, Swamiji, 1 month before also he came. Swamiji, I'm thinking, what do you think? I said, go. I also went to Baghdad without telling my parents. Whatever has to happen will happen. As long as at least your parents are there, they are sitting next to you and you are talking to me. I couldn't even share this knowledge till I didn't get the visa in my hand and the ticket in my hand. So if that is where you have to travel in order to grow, travel and grow. One must not live out of fear, but one must not be foolish either. See? So Yamarajji also tested our Nachiket by giving him all these Tim Tams, but he did not grab any one of them, and then that knowledge was given to him, which we'll be studying as we go along. And when Yamarajji saw that he is not attracted to, he is not desirous of anything in the physical and in the subtle, he only wants the infinite. Every teacher, what does he? He doesn't want your donation, he doesn't want your service, he doesn't want you to come and wash clothes, he doesn't want you to bring food. If you bring, it's good. But what does he want if you are a student? That you are contemplative and focused on the truth while in and through all the activities. That is what he wants. And if he sees you are slipping away, then the treatment comes. If you are in a Gurukul, Mom's house is a Gurukul. Everyone gets treatment every day. Hey, 9 but yeah. Quickly we'll finish introduction. That he is already dispassionate towards the whole world, and his intellect is quite bright because he is not attracted to all the goodies that I presented to him, and all the basic requirements, yama, niyama, single pointedness of mind, faith, we'll see all the qualities in detail when we get into it. All of those qualities which are required to know the truth, to understand the truth first, then to know, they are all present in this young boy, and therefore, and most importantly, this boy is having intense desire to know that by knowing which nothing remains to be known. That people can be, oh, I want to know. This is not the right disposition, because this is only kshanik. It is one moment inspiration, rest of the time laziness. This is called shmashan vairagya. No, but the student in Nachiket, he has shown the consistency. And then he gave him the knowledge, and that story and that dialogue is still available to us by way of this Kathopanishad. So when a seeker in you, in me, in all of us, when we invoke the Nachiketa within us, in every one of us, this Nachiket is there. When we invoke all these qualities, all these ideals, they will automatically start expressing developing within us. And this is the way that the reality then will be revealed to us. See, just like when clouds rain everywhere, where do they not rain? Everywhere they rain, isn't it? Even on the desert, which is full of sand, there also rain happens. But can anything grow in the desert? No. Why? What happens to the water there? It just seeps through, goes where, nobody knows. At other places, it just takes away the entire topsoil. Still you can, some places where it rains, the soil is not able, there's not enough soil or clay soil or topsoil for that water to remain and be bring about fertility. Water is the cloud's job is to pour water down, but it is the ability of the soil, what it does with that water. The fertile land, that is also land. Desert land, that is also land. Mountainous, that is also land, but it cannot hold any water. You cannot grow anything there. So what type of land are you? The grace is always present. The truth is always present. And it's coming to you by way of Upanishads, by way of satsang. You have never been divorced from it. Not only outside, but also within. The self is nothing but the Upanishad. We'll see the meaning of Upanishad in a different way in the introduction to Kathopanishad. So you have never been divorced, you have never been separated. But are we, the land is this body and mind, is this able to accept the grace, the droplets of grace, and fertilize it and become and allow plants to grow which are able to nurture? Those plants will be our thoughts. So that type of thoughts will come out of our mind. That type of disposition will come. Mind is never going to stop. Even after realization, mind will continue. So it is up to each one of us to make ourselves the capable student, adept student, like Nachiketa is. So in Nachiketa, all the qualities of a student are there. Uttam Adhikari. Uttam Adhikari. And those we will see as we go ahead. And therefore, in our life, we need the grace of the scriptures, we need the grace of the Lord, and we need the grace of the Guru Maharaj, who is able to connect the two, the Shastras, he is able to explain, and the devotion in your heart towards Ishvara, towards the Lord, he is able to inculcate or communicate through the scriptures. And that is, and he shows you, the teacher shows you how all these three are one and the same. Why 3, 4? Because student is also there. How the scriptures, how the Lord, how the Guru, and how the student are 4 names of the same thing. Just like the father, the brother, the son, and the husband are 4 names of the same man. This will be our indulgence for next few months, and we drink this nectar of knowledge from this Upanishad, and quench our thirst for tranquility, peace, realization, whatever name you may give. For some it may be just good sleep every night. It's okay. Huh? And in this way, with this introduction, next week we'll begin with Om Sahana Bhavatu and take it on from there. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.